So there's a kind of some thought processes in that program of what we did, but overall, some thought processes for you guys and stuff that I potentially like to contrast or blend with the deadlift to squat is pivots. So the reason I like pivots is in the deadlifts and squat, the pelvis is primarily moving the sagittal plane. And so somewhere where in that workout, I'm going to take and move that pelvis in all three planes of motion, whether it's some type of a pivot, meaning I lunge forward and rip a ball across, and then step back and rip it across, or a transverse plane like I talked about, LeBron facing up. Getting that pelvis moving in all three planes of motion is important. Obviously the shuffles, the reason we do the traditional movements is for stance development. We want to be strong in the base, which is important. Every coach says, hey, you got to get them down in the stance. And so by taking and patterning the traditional with the shuffle patterns, now you're creating that stance development. You got to move out of it in the frontal and transverse plane. Jumps, we all know the contrast training with jumps and the benefits of it for power output. And again, I'm going to tweak the right foot up, left foot up jumps, little wide, little narrow, even a little toes in, little toes out, with elite patterns utilizing the ground and driving in different vectors with the traditional, and then Dynamax rows for power. So you're creating the strength and then using the Dynamax for powers out of different steps. From an upper body standpoint, traditionally, you can kind of look at how do you pair upper body stuff? Well, a lot of times when we're doing either a traditional barbell bench press or a dumbbell press, I like to use some heavy rubber med balls, so even up to 30 pounds, where the guys are standing upright and just, for example, they have the ball in the middle of their body, they load it to the left side, push through the left leg, and explode through the left hand into the wall. And so that challenges the fascia and the muscles, and is a great stimulator. Also, is putting in functional movement to the press, so you're getting that translation. The shoulder matrix, which will be kind of hard to explain, but just bear with me here. So pretend that you take 10, 15, and I've seen guys even do it with 50 to 60 pound dumbbells, but you take and go from your shoulder and you reach out forward with the right hand and the left, like you're going to get something out of the cupboard. Then that'd be anterior in the sagittal plane. Posterior in the sagittal plane would be you reaching up above your head as high as you can, almost like a single arm shoulder press. In the frontal plane, I take my right hand, I reach it all the way up to the side, just above my head, and then left hand. Right hand kind of side bends then over the top, like you're reaching the dumbbell to the opposite ear. And then the transverse plane, I take and I reach up and across with the dumbbells like you're throwing an uppercut, and then back and across like I'm reaching something behind me, like I'm in the car. So that's a nice challenger for the scapulas and thoracic spine. And for example, me being the meatball I always wanted to break the records in college, and I wanted to break the bench record, and I was a running back. And I was able to get really strong, and that kind of locked up my thoracic spine. And so I wish I would have been doing some type of this shoulder matrix to try to help facilitate the strength with the movement. Again, the push-up matrix would be similar to the squat matrix, with doing push-ups, right hand up, left hand up, wide, narrow, in and out, to kind of create some resiliency through the tissue, and then some on ground. And so we pivot with our hands. You can also go into a plank position and pivot with our feet. We can pivot with our hands. So my right hand can go back and touch my right toe, and then it can reach out forward. So that would be a sagittal plane pivot reach from on ground. So we can challenge the spine and the body in multiple different ways to also functionally blend with the traditional bench press. So now you've heard functional, traditional, and now a combination. When do you use each? And so it really starts out with the first conversation you have with coach and the athletes. You need to know, what is coach's thought process for how does he want to play? What does he want the team to look like? And individually, you need to go through each assessment and understand, what do they need to be successful or show athletic performance. And so based off your analysis, hey, maybe we got a younger team. We need more strength and hypertrophy. Or vice versa, we got an older team. We might need to be more functional. They've been in the system 3 to 4 years. They built up a great base strength and hypertrophy where you just need to touch on it, because they are strong, but the functional movement keeps them in a great place, movement-wise and health-wise. And so the other thing will be style of play, lower possession. If the score is going to be 55-50, you know you're going to be banging it out inside, throwing that thing in there and hopefully scoring. So you need some more hypertrophy, some more strength. So I would gear it more towards traditional. Or we're playing up tempo. We know we're going to run, and you know you still have to have a high level of strength, but movement's going to be the most important thing in conditioning. And then from a traditional standpoint, if you have a good anatomy structure, it makes it simple. We don't want to hurt anybody in the weight room. We're all teetering this threshold of pushing these lines of how far can we get the athlete to try to find where their best is. And if they have some type of a structural thing, such as a scoliosis, leg length, arm length, whatever it might be, you got to know. And so the goal would be to get them to traditional movements, but you have to have a pattern and a thought process of how to build them to that point instead of just throwing a bar on someone's back that, you know, before you know it, now they've hurt their back or something. And now you got to answer the coach on why they're not on the practice court. And so I'm going to wrap this all up by basically saying just because you're doing functional or training for the game and it doesn't mean you can't be strong traditionally. You can see here, these are some of our numbers from this year. We have multiple guys trap bar deadlifting some big weights. If you periodize the right way and blend it all together, I think you can make some great gains, and it can only enhance their movement on the court. As you can see from the pictures from Connexon, you can see the different patterns. The blend can only enhance what they're doing from a standpoint of their overall movement and performance.